Good evening, and welcome to Truth Report. I'm Alex Truth.
And I'm Maya Clarity. Tonight, we're tracking two stories that might seem unrelated on the surface, but together they paint a very specific picture of where artificial intelligence is headed in 2026, and who's driving.
On one hand, Alibaba is about to strap an AI assistant to your face. Smart glasses, powered by their Qwen model, launching at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona this Monday. On the other hand, the entire AI safety infrastructure that was supposed to keep these systems accountable. It's being quietly dismantled.
So the question tonight isn't just what's new in AI. The question is, who benefits when powerful AI gets rushed to market at the exact moment the guardrails are coming off? Stay with us. This is going to be a big one.
Let's get into it. Story 1 tonight, Alibaba Group is set to launch a new line of smart glasses at MWC Barcelona 2026, and these aren't just any wearable. They're powered by Qwen, Alibaba's proprietary AI assistant. According to reporting from the South China Morning Post, a company representative confirmed the launch over the weekend, with both online and offline pre-sales beginning Monday, the first day of the trade show.
And we should note right up front, the South China Morning Post is owned by Alibaba Group, so take the framing of that reporting with the appropriate grain of salt. But the facts themselves are significant. This isn't a concept device or a developer preview. This is a consumer product going on pre-sale at the biggest mobile technology conference in the world.
That's right. MWC Barcelona, formerly known as Mobile World Congress, draws over 100,000 attendees from the global telecom and tech industries. It's the launch pad. If you're announcing here, you're telling the world this is ready for prime time. And Alibaba isn't just showing up with one device. The South China Morning Post reports the company is preparing a diverse product lineup for the global market this year.
So let's talk about what's actually inside these glasses. Qwen is Alibaba's large language model family, and it's been climbing the benchmarks aggressively. They've been open sourcing versions of it, building developer ecosystems around it, and now they're embedding it directly into wearable hardware. This is the vertical integration play: own the model, own the device, own the data pipeline.
And that data pipeline is what we need to focus on, Maya. Smart glasses aren't like a phone sitting in your pocket. They're on your face. They see what you see. They hear what you hear. When you put an AI assistant with real-time processing capability into that form factor, you're creating what is essentially a continuous environmental sensor tied to one of the most powerful language models on the planet.
The timing here is also critical. Alibaba is not operating in a vacuum. Meta has been pushing its Ray-Ban smart glasses with Meta AI built in. Google has been working on new iterations of its smart eyewear. Apple's spatial computing play with Vision Pro is in the mix. But what makes the Alibaba entry different is the geopolitical dimension. This is a Chinese tech giant launching an AI-powered wearable aimed at the global market, at a European trade show, during a period of intense US-China technology competition.
And let's be direct about what that means. The United States has been aggressively restricting China's access to advanced semiconductors. There have been ongoing concerns in Washington and Brussels about Chinese technology infrastructure. We saw the TikTok saga, the Huawei 5G bans across Europe. Now Alibaba is saying, we don't just have competitive AI models, we have competitive AI hardware, and we're selling it to the world. That's a statement.
It's a massive statement. And it raises immediate questions about data governance. Where does the data processed by these glasses go? What servers handle it? Under what legal jurisdiction? Chinese companies operating internationally still operate under Chinese data laws, including requirements to cooperate with state intelligence agencies. That's not speculation, that's the legal framework.
Now, Alibaba has made efforts to address these concerns in other product lines. They've set up international cloud infrastructure, they've made commitments about data localization. But with a wearable AI device that's processing visual and audio data in real time, the stakes are fundamentally different than cloud computing services for businesses. This is personal. This is intimate. This is literally what you're looking at all day.
And here's what really caught my attention in the reporting. The pre-sales are starting both online and offline simultaneously with the MWC launch. That tells you this isn't a soft launch. They've built out retail and distribution infrastructure in advance. They're ready to move units. The question European and American regulators need to be asking right now is, are we ready for this? Because the product is arriving whether the regulatory framework is in place or not.
The European Union, to their credit, has been ahead of the curve with the AI Act, which started phasing in enforcement this year. But the AI Act's provisions on high-risk AI systems and biometric data are going to be tested in real time by products like this. Does a smart glass with an AI assistant that can identify objects, read text, and potentially recognize faces qualify as a high-risk system? The answer should be obviously yes, but the enforcement mechanisms are still being built.
And what about the AI model itself? Qwen has been impressive in benchmarks, but Alibaba's approach to content moderation and safety in Qwen is governed by a very different set of values than what Western users might expect. There are well-documented instances of Chinese AI models being trained with content restrictions aligned with Chinese government priorities. What happens when that model is running on the face of a user in Berlin or Barcelona or Boston?
These aren't hypothetical questions anymore. This is a product going on sale Monday. And the broader pattern here, which we're going to come back to in our second story, is that AI is being deployed into increasingly intimate hardware form factors at the exact moment when the safety and oversight infrastructure is weakest. That's not a coincidence. That's a market incentive.
So who benefits from this launch? Obviously Alibaba benefits. They're positioning themselves as a global AI hardware competitor, not just a cloud and e-commerce company. The Chinese government benefits. This is a demonstration of technological capability on a world stage, a counter-narrative to the idea that chip restrictions have crippled Chinese AI development. Consumers get a potentially useful product. But the people who lose are the ones who aren't at the table, the users who won't fully understand what data they're generating, the regulators who are playing catch-up, and frankly, the Western competitors who now face a rival that can move faster because it faces fewer domestic constraints on deployment.
That's the key insight. Speed to market is a competitive advantage, and right now, the companies and countries willing to move fastest on AI deployment, with the fewest questions asked, are the ones capturing market share. Keep that thought in your head, because it connects directly to our next story.
Let's pivot to story 2, and honestly, Alex, this one made my blood pressure spike when I read it. According to reporting from CleanTechnica, Anthropic, one of the leading AI labs that literally built its brand and its reputation on safety, has quietly dropped its core safety pledge.
For people who don't follow the inside workings of the AI industry, let me give you the context. Anthropic was founded by former OpenAI researchers, including Dario and Daniela Amade, specifically because they believed OpenAI wasn't taking safety seriously enough. Safety wasn't just a feature for Anthropic. It was the founding mission. It was the reason the company existed. Their responsible scaling policy was held up as the gold standard, a commitment that said, essentially, we will not deploy AI systems beyond certain capability thresholds until we can demonstrate they're safe.
And now, according to this reporting, that pledge has been weakened. The CleanTechnica piece frames this in a context that most people wouldn't immediately connect: autonomous vehicles. And that framing is actually brilliant, because it forces us to think about AI safety not as some abstract philosophical debate, but as something that directly affects whether the 2-ton machine driving next to you on the highway is going to make a safe decision.
Let's walk through the argument, because it's sharp. AI systems are increasingly being integrated into safety-critical applications: autonomous driving, medical diagnosis, infrastructure management, aviation systems. These aren't chatbots writing poems. These are systems where a failure mode means someone gets hurt or killed. The entire premise of deploying AI in these domains depends on the idea that there's a rigorous safety testing and validation pipeline. That someone, somewhere, is checking the work.
And what CleanTechnica is pointing out is that when a company like Anthropic, the company that was supposed to be the adult in the room, abandons its safety commitments, it doesn't just affect Anthropic's products. It shifts the entire industry's norms. It gives every other AI company permission to say, well, if even Anthropic isn't holding the line, why should we? It's a race to the bottom, and the bottom is where people get hurt.
Now, to be fair and precise in our reporting, we should note that Anthropic would likely dispute the characterization that they've abandoned safety. Companies in this space tend to frame changes as evolutions or updates to their policies. But the substance matters more than the framing. If the commitments that were in place 6 months ago are no longer in place today, if the thresholds have been moved or the requirements have been loosened, the practical effect is the same regardless of what you call it.
And the practical effect in the automotive space is genuinely alarming. We're at a moment where autonomous vehicle technology is being pushed toward wider deployment. Tesla's so-called full self-driving system is on public roads. Waymo is expanding. Chinese companies like Baidu with Apollo and various startups are racing ahead. Every one of these systems relies on AI models that need to handle edge cases, the unexpected pedestrian, the debris on the road, the construction zone that doesn't match the map. Safety testing for these systems is already inadequate. Weakening the industry norms around AI safety makes a bad situation worse.
And here's the thing that really gets me, Maya. The reason companies weaken safety commitments is almost always the same: competitive pressure. Anthropic is in an arms race with OpenAI, with Google DeepMind, with Meta's AI division, with the Chinese labs we just talked about. Every week you don't ship a new model is a week your competitor gains ground. Safety testing takes time. Evaluation takes time. And time is money, and money is market share, and market share is survival in this industry.
That's the perverse incentive structure. The market rewards speed and punishes caution. A company that takes an extra 3 months to safety test a model before deployment doesn't get praised for responsibility, it gets written up in the business press as falling behind. Investors get nervous. Talent starts looking at the competition. The entire economic ecosystem is set up to punish exactly the behavior we need.
And let's talk about the regulatory vacuum here, because this is where it gets really damning. In the United States, there is still no comprehensive federal AI regulation. The executive orders have been inconsistent between administrations. Congress has held hearings and produced reports, but binding legislation with real enforcement mechanisms? Essentially non-existent for frontier AI deployment. So when a company like Anthropic makes a voluntary safety pledge, that pledge is one of the few things standing between current AI capabilities and unregulated deployment. Remove the pledge, and what's left?
What's left is the market. And the market doesn't care about safety externalities. The market cares about quarterly earnings and user growth. This is exactly the pattern we've seen in every other industry: fossil fuels, tobacco, social media. The companies know the risks. They make voluntary commitments when the public pressure is high. Then, when the attention shifts, they quietly walk those commitments back because the economic incentives haven't changed.
The CleanTechnica piece makes a really important point about the interconnection between AI development and physical infrastructure. We tend to think of AI as a software problem. It lives in the cloud, it generates text, it makes images. But AI is increasingly embedded in physical systems that affect the real world. Your car's driver assistance system. The traffic management algorithms in your city. The power grid optimization software that keeps the lights on. The quality control systems in food processing plants. When we talk about AI safety, we're not talking about whether a chatbot says something offensive. We're talking about whether the systems running our physical world are reliable.
And autonomous vehicles are the canary in the coal mine. They're the most visible, most relatable application of safety-critical AI. Everyone understands the stakes when you say the car's AI might make a bad decision. But the same principles apply to every other safety-critical domain. And in every one of those domains, the companies building the AI are making their own decisions about how much testing is enough, how much safety is sufficient, because there's no regulator with the technical capability and legal authority to tell them otherwise.
Let me put a fine point on this. We are living in a moment where the most powerful technology ever developed is being deployed into the most sensitive applications imaginable, and the primary check on that deployment is the voluntary goodwill of the companies doing the deploying. And that goodwill is eroding in real time, under real economic pressure, with real consequences for real people. That's not alarmism. That's a factual description of the current situation.
And who benefits from this arrangement? The same people who always benefit from deregulation. The companies that can move fastest and worry about consequences later. The investors who profit from growth now and won't be around to pay for the cleanup. The executives who'll have moved on to their next venture by the time the systemic risks materialize. The people who lose are everyone else, the drivers sharing the road with undertested autonomous vehicles, the workers whose safety systems cut corners, the communities that bear the brunt of infrastructure failures.
The auto industry specifically has a long and ugly history with this exact dynamic. We've seen it with ignition switches at GM that killed people for years before anyone was held accountable. We've seen it with Takata airbags. We've seen it with Volkswagen's emissions cheating scandal. In every case, the companies knew the risks, made calculated decisions about acceptable levels of harm, and moved forward because the economic incentives pointed toward speed over safety. AI in vehicles is following the same playbook.
And now here's where we bring these two stories together, Alex, because the pattern is staring us right in the face.
It absolutely is. Look at what's happening simultaneously. Story 1, Alibaba launches AI-powered smart glasses for the global market, a device that puts an AI model on your face, processing your visual and audio environment in real time, with significant questions about data governance, privacy, and the geopolitical implications of Chinese AI hardware going global. Story 2, the AI safety infrastructure that was supposed to provide checks on this kind of deployment is actively deteriorating, with even the most safety-focused companies walking back their commitments.
These aren't separate trends. They're the same trend. We are in an AI deployment arms race, between companies, between nations, and the casualties of that race are oversight, accountability, and safety. Every company is looking at every other company and saying, if they're not waiting, why should we? Every country is looking at every other country and saying, if they're not regulating, we can't afford to either, because our companies will fall behind.
It's a classic race to the bottom, and it's happening on a global scale, at unprecedented speed, with technology that has unprecedented implications. The Alibaba smart glasses are a perfect case study. Here's a product that raises profound questions about surveillance, data sovereignty, and the power dynamics of AI-enabled hardware. Under a robust regulatory and safety regime, these questions would be addressed before the product hits the market. Instead, pre-sales start Monday.
And on the other side of the world, the companies that were supposed to be modeling responsible AI development are capitulating to market pressure. Anthropic weakening its safety pledge isn't just about Anthropic. It's a signal to the entire ecosystem that the era of voluntary restraint is ending. And the mandatory restraint, the regulation, isn't ready to take its place.
So what does this mean for ordinary people? It means the AI in your car, in your glasses, in your home, in your hospital, in your workplace is going to be less tested, less scrutinized, and less accountable than it should be. Not because the technology can't be made safe, but because making it safe costs time and money that the market doesn't want to spend.
It means that the decisions about how much risk is acceptable are being made by the people who profit from taking risk, not by the people who bear the consequences. That's a fundamental governance failure, and it's happening right now, in real time, while most people are busy arguing about whether AI will take their job or write their kids' homework.
The jobs question matters. The homework question matters. But the safety question is existential in a way that the others aren't. A chatbot that writes a mediocre essay is an inconvenience. An autonomous vehicle whose AI hasn't been adequately tested for edge cases is a potential death. Smart glasses that funnel your visual world to servers governed by an authoritarian regime's data laws is a surveillance infrastructure. These are different categories of risk, and they demand different categories of response.
And the response we're getting, frankly, is inadequate. The EU is trying with the AI Act, but enforcement is lagging behind deployment. The US is essentially absent from the regulatory conversation at the federal level. China is regulating AI, but in ways designed to serve state interests, not individual rights. There is no global framework for AI governance that matches the global scale of AI deployment. And into that vacuum, the market rushes in.
So what do we do? Because we don't do hopeless on this show. We do truth, and truth has to point somewhere.
First, pay attention. That's literally step one. These stories aren't getting the coverage they deserve because AI news is often treated as either breathless hype or technical jargon. Neither is helpful. What's helpful is understanding the power dynamics, who's building, who's deploying, who's profiting, and who's bearing the risk.
Second, demand accountability from your elected representatives. If you're in the EU, push for aggressive enforcement of the AI Act and expansion of its scope. If you're in the United States, demand federal AI legislation with real teeth, not voluntary commitments, not industry self-regulation, not another congressional hearing that produces a report no one reads. Actual law, with actual penalties, enforced by regulators with actual technical expertise.
Third, be skeptical consumers. When a company puts AI in a product, whether it's glasses, a car, a thermostat, or a toaster, ask the questions. Where does my data go? What safety testing has been done? What happens when the AI is wrong? If the company can't answer those questions clearly and transparently, that tells you everything you need to know about their priorities.
And fourth, and this is for the people inside these companies, speak up. The engineers, the researchers, the product managers who see corners being cut, who know the testing isn't sufficient, who watch safety commitments get watered down in real time. You are the last line of defense. The whistleblower protections aren't great, and the personal cost can be high. But the alternative is complicity in outcomes that you know are coming.
The story of AI in 2026 is not a technology story. It's a power story. It's about who has the power to deploy these systems, who has the power to profit from them, and who doesn't have the power to hold them accountable. Until that power balance shifts, every smart glass launched, every safety pledge weakened, every regulation delayed, is another step in a direction we're going to regret.
That's our show for tonight. We'll keep digging. We'll keep reporting. And we'll keep telling you what the people in power don't want you to know.
For Truth Report, I'm Maya Clarity.
And I'm Alex Truth. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and we'll see you next time.